Dolphins chief reaction with Colin Cowherd, his instant reaction to the game. I am filming this the day after. So Miami and Kansas City played in frigid conditions, -20 with the wind chill at Arrowhead. Miami was drubbed. Since then, there's been a conversation about Mike McDaniel possibly being on the hot seat and the future of Miami being in question. We're going to do a deep dive into some analytics and some stats to show my side of things, where I think everyone should just relax. All Miami Dolphins fans should be okay and give Mike McDaniel a little bit of time. So let's go ahead and listen to Colin's reaction. We shall react through it as only we can do.
Miami Dolphins, I thought Miami would give a much better effort. It was really kind of waved the white flag early in the third quarter. And, you know, I can't really blame their defense because they're missing 6 starters. But so...
No, I mean, you heard a lot about the elements. I mean, if you were playing a drinking game where you took a shot every time Jason Garrett mentioned the weather, or that Tua was born in Hawaii, thus he couldn't play in the cold, then you probably would have had your stomach pumped by the end of the first quarter. You know, it was a lot about the weather and the temperature, and not that much of a conversation around the fact that Miami was down 6 defensive starters. And some of the offensive starters, like Raheem Mostert and Jalen Waddle, were playing through injuries. So kind of a perfect storm, no pun intended, for Miami going into this game. I mean, it's not surprising that the Chiefs beat the blitz by throwing short intermediate routes to their tight ends and in the middle of the field. And Miami, on the other side, were down the linebackers who probably are covering those routes. So, you know, Miami was in a bad spot going into this game for sure. They didn't look good. I don't think anyone would say that this was Miami's best game or a good effort or any of that stuff. I thought McDaniel forced Miami to kind of go back to what was good this year for them, that kind of short, quick, throw the ball around, pitch and catch kind of offense. But given the weather, given the injuries, it might have been better if he just went to the run. There was a specific set where it was 3rd and 2 and then 4th and 2, and he threw it back-to-back plays, both for nothing, and they turned it over on downs, where you're gashing them on the ground. Just run the ball there, at least on 4th and 2, or maybe even on both plays. Sometimes a young quarterback or a young coach like McDaniel, 40 years old, second year in Miami, sometimes they try and outsmart everyone, including themselves. And I feel like sometimes during this game, that was the case. So don't get it twisted. Miami didn't look good in this game, but I'm not as results-based as some people are. And we'll get into that in this video. There's 2 ways you can kind of look at a season. One is results-based. What have you done for me lately? And the other one is the entire season. And I err more towards that for sure.
Let me get this straight on Tua. He's small, doesn't have a great arm up the sideline, not athletic, has some injuries, and now can only play in ideal conditions. So he has to have home games throughout the playoffs to be formidable. So
Colin sounds like the rest of us. I mean, the weather and everyone's sinuses are just out of control right now. The allergies. Poor Colin. Sounds like hell. But this is the direction I would go if I was really talking about the future of Miami. I would be much more of a microscope on Tua. McDaniel has got a lot out of Tua. I mean, at a certain point this year, Tua was the front runner to win the MVP. Tua threw for 4,700 yards this year. You know, Tua has been good under McDaniel. And people questioned his ceiling and floor. Some people thought Tua could be the best quarterback in the NFL. Some people thought he could be an MVP, right? Now, I think it's fair to look at him more like how Jimmy Garoppolo was with Kyle Shanahan, where Shanahan is getting a ton out of this player, but this player on his own isn't very good. Or I shouldn't say that. Not isn't very good, but isn't as good as he seems. That's where I would currently put Tua. Can he succeed? Obviously. Can he be good in this system? Obviously. But I would say he's more of a product of the system versus he's elevating everybody else. That is for sure a conversation we can have. The conversation I think is unfair is to say that Mike McDaniel is on the hot seat. Now, I know we're only a minute into the Collins part of this, but let's go ahead and look at some analytics. So let's look at before McDaniel. This is on Pro Football Reference. Before McDaniel, the offensive rank of the Dolphins was 22 in points and 25 in yards. Since McDaniel got there, they were his first year, they're 11th in points, then 2nd in points this year. His first year, they go from 25th in yards to 6th in yards, and then 1st in yards this year. If we look at DVOA, their offensive DVOA this year, Miami was number 2. offensively. So no doubt about it, he is doing things with the offense. That is an enormous jump in his first 2 seasons. And Tua was there, Flores' last year. So this is evident that Mike McDaniel is getting results. We go to even deeper analytics. This is January 11th from Patent Analytics. This ranks the efficiency of offensive play callers after week 18. So this is the whole season. Mike McDaniel, number 1. He is number 1 in efficiency, better than everyone else, better than Kyle Shanahan, Shane Steichen, the Matt LaFleur's of the world, the Sean McVay's of the world, everybody. Far and away, Mike McDaniel. Then we look at the individual performances. Tua, again, 4,600 yards, 29 touchdowns. Raheem Mostert, over 1,000 yards, almost 5 yards a carry, 21 total touchdowns out of Raheem Mostert. A-Chain, 8 yards a carry, 800 yards. Tyreek Hill at one point was chasing 2,000 yards. Jalen Waddle battled through injuries, over 1,000 yards. Mike McDaniel's getting the most out of his players, and it is working. He is giving you the long-term results as far as efficiency, analytics, the individual performances, all of that. Then you look at the wins, right? I understand that the wins against teams over 500 weren't exactly there this year, but the Dolphins were still playing for the division in the last game of the season. They were in contention for the 1 seed with a few weeks to go. And let's look at Kyle Shanahan now. I want to show you this. So Kyle Shanahan, we would all consider one of the best coaches in the NFL. I think the best coach in the NFL. Certainly top 3. His first 2 years in San Francisco. Before Shanahan gets there, they're 27th in points and 31st in yards. Bad, right? Shanahan then takes them to 20th in points, jump, and 12th in yards. Then he regresses, goes 21st in points, 16 in yards. All right, so that's his second year, same as McDaniel. McDaniel had a much more dramatic jump with what he did with the points and the yards. So we look at the record. McDaniel's first year, or Shanahan's first year, 6-10, not great. Second year, regress, 4-12. Then Shanahan takes off. All right, we see second in points, 4th in yards. They go to the Super Bowl. The rest is history. The point of this is it takes some time. 2 years is not enough time to give a head coach, a young head coach who's trying to figure things out. If Shanahan or McDaniel was a 10-year NFL vet or a coach, then okay, judge him after 2 years. But McDaniel has had a much better, much more efficient, much more of a dramatic improvement his first 2 years than Kyle Shanahan had with the San Francisco 49ers. So I think McDaniel should be safe. The Dolphins have an identity. The Dolphins have a culture. The Dolphins have all of that, everything that you want in the first 2 years. They have the individual performances. They have the record improvement. They have the analytical improvement. They have all of that. Back-to-back playoffs. I wouldn't get so bogged down in the fact that they didn't perform well in negative 30 degrees, down 6 starters with injured playmakers on the offensive side.
So, I mean, doesn't mean you're going to get rid of him, but I think you have to look to the future and understand what he is. I mean, his record in December and January is not good. His record in September and October is good. And that's okay. You know, he is a quarterback that's more than capable. I mean, he made a Pro Bowl over Josh Allen. Now, I think the Pro Bowl's nonsense.
Yeah,
I think awards, Oscars,
yeah,
Emmys,
agreed.
I think a lot of it's nonsense.
It is.
Plaques don't make the player. Everybody
True.
knows that. But, you know, I mean, I think you look at Tua and it's like, what one skill does he have over Josh Allen? Really? So you just have to know going forward, there's limitations to what he can do, especially late in the season. And Miami, to a large degree, again, I thought they'd play much better tonight. I thought it would be lower scoring. I thought the Chiefs' offense was highly functional.
Chiefs offense was functional. I think people are taking a look at the scoreboard and all of that, but they're forgetting the Chiefs did bog down a lot in the red zone. You know, Miami did have chances, even though they were getting dominated. They were within a score late or later than it should have been. It should have been like 21-7 at one point, but because of field goals and because of the Chiefs kind of bogging down, you know, the Dolphins were still in it. So I think Kansas City got away with looking better because of the final score, but they certainly weren't as efficient as they wanted to be in the red zone. Patrick Mahomes ends with 1 passing touchdown, you know, even though he had, I think, 4 or 5 red zone trips. So the Chiefs struggled as well in the elements. They struggled as well with some weather-related stuff. Patrick Mahomes, a couple of his deep balls to Mecole Hardman especially, were fluttering around, didn't land, where if they were playing in perfect conditions, and yeah, he probably would have hit Hardman on both of those throws.
And I'll get to that in a second. But considering the conditions, highly functional tonight, especially after a couple rocky drives to start, players getting used to the cold. And then I thought second quarter, pretty good. But
Pacheco was also running well. Pacheco had 20-something carries, ran really well tonight. Anytime you can do that playing with a lead, it makes everything else look much more efficient. It's harder in that situation to play from behind and try and look efficient like the Dolphins did. I think that also is a problem for Miami when they do have to play, when they can't play their style, when they're kind of forced into playing catch up or playing from behind and all that to kind of get away from themselves. You throw in everything else they were dealing with. I'm not too surprised that the Dolphins didn't look great in this game, but I am surprised at I think the overall reaction to the game.
I think Miami was what I said they were all season. They're fun. I like watching them. I like their coach. I like Tyreek Hill. Tua's fine. They're a convertible sports car. They're just not built for December and January. They're just not built for this type of weather. So quarterbacks, none of them love playing in this weather. Brady liked cold weather because he said when it was slippery, defensive linemen couldn't get a pass rush. Most quarterbacks don't love it. But, the difference between the great ones and guys you don't give an extension to are, can you overcome? Can you play in bad elements? Can you play hurt?
Honestly, I think when people say this about Miami, I think it's kind of a lazy take. What does that mean to say that Miami can't play in cold weather? Is every single person on the team, were they born in 90-degree weather where they can't handle cold? Did none of them ever play in the cold? None of them ever live in the cold? Can they not survive in the cold? To me, they're just taking the fact that they are from Miami, the team is from Miami. The Dolphins is their logo, and they're equating it to a dolphin can't really swim, and it's not, a dolphin doesn't live in cold weather. A dolphin, you don't see them. Maybe if they were the penguins. I feel like that's about as deep as this goes. I just don't get the idea, because they're not saying that a passing offense can't survive in cold weather. We've seen plenty of passing offenses be good in cold weather, right? So, and then how cold is cold weather? Under 40 degrees. So Miami's really good up until 40 degrees, and then if it gets to 35, they just all shut it down. To me, that seems like an unquantifiable kind of narrative that is very easy to gravitate to. It's very easy to think, yeah, South Beach, sun, yeah, they're Miami, floral shirts. They probably hate the cold. But how many of them how much of that is actually true? But how much of it was the cold, and how much of it is the fact that they were battling injuries and all of that? Because if you say, well, Miami's not really built to play 6 defensive starters down and multiple injuries on the offensive side on the road. If you said that, it's they probably aren't built to do that. No team is really built to play like that, for sure. That idea is kind of wild. That's a very different narrative of they were injured, they're playing on the road in the playoffs against the defending Super Bowl champion. Pretty tough spot, for sure. I can go down that road. I can't go down the road of cold weather equals Dolphins loss.
Can you play against the great pass rush? Can you play when your left tackle's a swinging door? So I think Tua is just a quarterback that when everything's lined up perfectly, he can play. But you saw C.J. Stroud earlier today. Bigger, stronger, better arm. Now, again, weather's different, but you look at C.J. Stroud, there's nothing you're really missing there. Big arm, sideline, sees the field, gets rid of it, can throw on the move, can move a little. There's just nothing you don't like. And with Tua, there's not a lot I love. He is a warm weather quarterback. When things are ideal, he can put up some good numbers with a world-class receiving core and Mike McDaniel, who's a really smart offensive coach. But things have to be right.
Again, I think it's okay to put that on Tua, where we kind of put a ceiling on him. Is Stroud better? It's hard to tell at this point, maybe. If you're breaking it down from just a combine kind of look, as far as who's more athletic, who's got the better arm, who's got this, who's got that. Yeah, okay, maybe Stroud is better, but not everyone can have a CJ Stroud. Tua is fine. Tua is operating in this offense just fine, just like Garoppolo. Garoppolo was fine in San Francisco. Garoppolo had a ceiling, but they were up 10 in the Super Bowl against Kansas City. They could have won that game for sure. And Miami also, people see the high-flying, Tyreek Hill and the passing and all that stuff, but they forget just how good Miami is at running the football. They forget just how dominant they are running and how dangerous they are this year with A-Chain and Mostert. That's kind of this narrative where they like to throw, thus they can't be good in the cold. But you would think a good running team would be built for the cold, right? So how much of that is this cold narrative and how much of it is McDaniel just kind of figuring out how to play in these playoff games, how to play late, and we got to give them all some grace to kind of lean into what their system should be in these games. It doesn't make any sense to me to have a team that's very successful for 90% of the season and then to all of a sudden say in December they can't win. The calendar changing cannot affect the on-field product that much. I heard Rex Ryan talking about how he talked about the record of Miami in December and January versus the rest of the season. He just kind of said it as, there it is. They can't win in those months. But the number of the month cannot have any effect unless you believe in, the moon and the stars and the tides and all that stuff affecting the team. I just think that's going that route is like a straw man argument where you'll never get the answers. You'll never find the actual answers you're looking for if you're just blaming the month on Miami's struggles. Let me show you what I mean by kind of a lazy narrative with the month. So the Baltimore Ravens, okay? You would think cold weather team, right? Built to win in late months. They're from Baltimore, right? So the media, you never hear that the Ravens aren't built for cold weather or December, January, or whatever. In January, since 2015, the Baltimore Ravens are 2, 4, 6. They're 1-6 in January since 2015. 1-6. How many times have you heard the Ravens be accused of not being able to play in January, not being able to play in cold weather? You never hear that, right? All time, the Ravens are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 6 and 9 all time in cold weather and are in January. Let's look at the Dolphins. Since 2015, same time frame, the Dolphins are 1, 2, 3. They're 3 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We'll count tonight. So they're 3-6. So they're 3-6 since 2015 in January, whereas the Ravens were 1-6. So if you just do it by that, if you just do it by the lazy January change of the month, the Dolphins are better in January than the Ravens, which no one would ever have said or ever have thought. That's why I would definitely push back on the idea that the month is the reason that a certain team isn't winning. I think that's ridiculous. And this shows that you could throw that kind of random stat out there for any team and make it work or make it not work. So as easy as it is to say, oh, that's true. You don't wear sun bum in cold weather. Thus, someone from Miami must not like January. That makes sense to me. I would definitely tell you to go a little bit deeper and see if it actually does make sense to you.
Teams will tell you what they think of their players by the play calling. And so Mike McDaniel's play calling was super conservative in the second half. Well, that's telling you he doesn't trust him.
So this part, this part we covered this part's true. If you're talking about, does McDaniel trust Tua to go out there in -30, with the game out of reach, to go back out there and just let it rip and sling it all over the place and try and get them back in the game a la a Josh Allen or a Patrick Mahomes? No, it's a different skill set, right? McDaniel is not asking him to do that. He's asking him to be the general of this efficient machine. He's asking him to run this efficient machine. If the efficient machine is not running, it doesn't just then turn into, all right, Tua, try and sling it all over the place. That's not going to work. McDaniel is smart enough to know that's not an option, right? Buffalo, If Buffalo's offense is bogging down, they're the opposite. They just say, all right, Josh, go try and win the game. Go try and be you. Go try and be 6'6", 260 athletic freak, run all over the place, run over linebackers, and bomb the ball downfield. That's not Tua. That's not who he is. It's the same with San Francisco, with Brock Purdy. If Brock Purdy and then if this was San Francisco playing in this game, Shanahan wouldn't turn it over to Purdy and say, all right, we're going to put you in shotgun 5 wide and let you just bomb the ball downfield. Purdy doesn't do that. Does that make him a bad quarterback? No, it's a different skill set, right? So Tua is not. Miami is a unique team because they're running a unique offense, an efficient offense. But if you look at everything as a whole, I think it's crazy if you are a Dolphins fan and you're asking to blow this up. With the improvement you've seen record-wise, counting stat-wise, categorical ranking-wise, individual performance-wise, identity-wise, culture-wise, improvement across the board. If you want to punt on that because of a bad performance to end the season or a bad month, and you think that there's too many warm-blooded players on the team, for a team that hasn't won much, I'm shocked at how spoiled some of these Dolphins fans are acting right now. Mike McDaniel, if he was fired, he would shoot up to the top of the head coaching vacancy list. If it was me, this is controversial yet brave, and I could choose next year for the New Orleans Saints, team I cover the most, if they could have Bill Belichick as the head coach moving forward or Mike McDaniel, I would take Mike McDaniel. That's just how I look at it. What he's done so far in Miami should be commended. Can certain parts be better, like Tua? Could you have a better quarterback back there? Sure. But there's only probably 4 or 5 teams in the NFL that can't say that. That can't say that they could improve at the quarterback position. Again, do I think that Niners would be better with Josh Allen back there than Brock Purdy? Probably. But Brock Purdy is not, hurting the 49ers. It's a unique team. It's a unique system. He fits in the system. He fits in the scheme. Not every quarterback has to be Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen with a rocket arm and 6'5" and running all over the place and all that. So the rest of this video, Colin gets into the Chiefs. I wanted to talk mostly about the Dolphins and kind of temper this anti-McDaniel, anti-Tua conversation we're having. So let me know in the comments below, especially if you're a Dolphins fan where you come down on this. Do you disagree? Do you agree? Was it just kind of heat of the moment last night? Was Twitter kind of irate just because it's Twitter? Or do you think that there's a bigger picture? Do you think that Miami should move on from McDaniel and Tua? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next video.